John Walker joining us here in the studios. Congratulations to you, sir. Your film, Arctic Defenders, being screened tonight at the Vancouver International Film Festival. And a very unique focus here. You're focusing on the North. This is good for the identity of our country and the story of the Inuit people. And for you, why was this such a personal focus?
Well, I was a piece of Eskimo, as we called it in the 60s, Eskimo carving landed on my living room when I was a kid at 8, and I was really inspired by this art and culture, and I had an opportunity to go north at 16, jumped on a ship with a camera around my neck and headed off to the high Arctic, 3,000 miles north of Montreal.
And I think we actually have a photo, guys, if we can jump to that photo quickly, because it is fascinating when you have that chance, you're saying at the early age of 16, to go to a place and then you come back and explore it and tell a story. What were some of the big differences you noticed and similarities, if in fact there were any?
Well, here I was in 68, heading up just after Expo 67, heading up north looking for Eskimos. What I didn't realize is that the spirit of the 60s was the Inuit were creating this movement to protect their language and culture. And their first sort of move was to say, we're not Eskimos, we're Inuit. And that was the beginning of a consciousness that they had to take control of their lives and to get involved in the political process.
And when you look at the creation of the culture, I know this film talks about the creation of Nunavut. What were the important aspects that you wanted to include in the doc for the point of view from the Inuit people now?
Well, I met some of the leaders of this movement in a previous film called Passage, about the Northwest Passage and Sir John Franklin. And this is an incredible story of Inuit gaining complete governance and control of 2 million square miles of territory. You know, they started a movement in around 1970. Within 5 years, they were negotiating with the Prime Minister of Canada for occupation and territory of this massive territory, and pulled off a land claim and the creation of Nunavut, a new territory. It took them 20 years. All of these leaders have received, the Order of Canada. They've made an incredible contribution to Canadian culture and history, and engaged in the political process and care about their culture and their language, which we should all care about, really. And
when you look at some of the visuals we're seeing right here, I think it speaks to Canadian identity when you see how far back the archives, you went into the archives to pull this together. What surprised you? Because as a filmmaker, anytime you make a documentary, I'm sure there are a lot of things that you may learn along the way. You wanted to tell a story, but what were the surprises for you?
Well, the biggest surprise is that what they were able to accomplish in such a short time. I mean, Tagak Hurley says he didn't know what the word politic meant. And here they are sitting down with the Prime Minister of Canada. It's a very exciting period of our time. We were rewriting the Constitution. And to engage on that level without violence, with a determination, tenacity, and it comes from the culture. And it's really a remarkable achievement, and it was, and nobody knew. I mean, Canadians don't know about this story.
Yeah.
And that was an eye-opener to me.
And I mean, even looking at this is something that I learned along the way too, and it opens the doors for healthy discussion. And anytime you're making a film too, you're immersing yourself within the culture. But there's got to be boundaries with the Inuit people saying, okay, we're going to tell you this, but respect this aspect too. Yeah. What did you face in that aspect?
I mean, the message of this film is that when you're in the North, listen to Inuit. And I was warned about icebergs. Be very careful, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
But of course, as a filmmaker, you want to get closer and closer, and icebergs are infinitely fascinating. So we're floating along shooting this iceberg. And
oh, wow.
All of a sudden, this 30-story building starts cracking and crashing in front of us.
Yeah.
And the wake nearly drowned the entire crew, including myself. We had to, get the hell out of there. And it just reminded me, this was my arrogance. I included the sequence in the film, not listening to Inuit advice. We need to listen to Inuit when we're in the Arctic. We plan to survive up there.
And what a sight to see. And, for people that have the chance to go down to International Village tonight, 6:45 again, if you want to screen this movie, what would you say is the big statement with Arctic sovereignty that you wanted to make?
Well, our government talks about threats to Canadian sovereignty. We're concerned because there's oil and gas up there, and concerned that we have sovereignty and we can exploit the resources. But the actual confirmation of sovereignty in the North is the fact that Inuit, who are Canadians and proud of it, live in the North. And they are not unwilling to share their wealth. They want to share that wealth with Canada, but they want to do it responsibly, concerned about the environment, and that's why they work very hard to maintain governance of that territory, so they have input in how the North is developed.
Well, congrats on a film that's very important for Canadian identity.
Thanks so much.
Again, John Walker right here. You can screen the movie tonight, International Village. Russ, another one to put on the list for the film festival in the city.
Got to put that one on the list. Thanks so much, John Walker, for stopping in today, and thank you, Riaz.